wanted to ask you to speak to how you see those integrating in a life. And if life is the meditation, why do we also have to sit on the cushion every morning?
That's a phenomenal question, and it really, moves to the right into the heart of the matter, because it's hard for us to be fully present and not get caught in wanting things to be different or better. And I'm not saying things can't be different or better. I'm saying don't get caught in the wanting, because then that will warp, in some sense, potentially your ability to actually transform the world. So in some sense, the world itself and well-being and morality depends on us knowing ourselves and being comfortable and not being driven by our basest or greediest or most acquisitive or impulses that are really severely self-centered and sometimes really cause harm to other people unwittingly, because we may not notice and we may not care. So this is the paradox here, and I love that, because it's like, yeah, there's no place to go, there's nothing to do, and there's nothing to attain. You can wake up in any moment. But the impulse to go back to sleep almost immediately, even if you wake up for a moment, is so great that you have to exercise a certain kind of muscle. Although I don't want to put too much weight on the exercise metaphor, because people are so turned off by exercising, because it feels like it's slogging through mud. Mm-hmm. But there's a way to approach a meditation practice so that even though you align yourself with a kind of strong intentionality and a discipline, like you do it every day, the kind of formal meditative practice where it's whatever, and there are many different forms for it. So it's not just sitting meditation, but whatever it is, you commit to doing it every day as if your life depended on it. Now that's discipline, and who wants more discipline in our lives? We're already disciplined enough just getting food on the table for our kids and having to deal with like remembering to put on a mask and to social distance and all of this stuff. We're under so much stress that to ask us to actually now on top of all that, you want me to meditate and it's only the hardest work in the world. So the paradox is, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the hardest work in the world and it's no work at all. And you're already exactly where you need to be, but only if you can, in some sense, make room for that, because it's so easy to zone along on autopilot for 10 or 20 or 30 years, being lost in thought, emotional reactivity, and striving to get to a place where you're going to ultimately be happy, whatever your fantasy of that would be. And then ironically miss the fact that this is it. And if you want to be happy, why not try being sort of at least in wise relationship to this moment as it is? And then be free of the conditions that, oh, if only this happened, then I'd be happy. But if this and this and this don't happen, then my life is screwed forever. And that's just thinking. But those kinds of thoughts create prisons for us. Now, why it takes like a whole lifetime in some sense I've been meditating for over 50 years and I feel like a rank beginner.
Really?
It's just like a love affair that just keeps on opening new dimensions of experience and also slapping me straight in the face with how easy it is to fall into self-centered, fear-based stuff, especially under any stressful conditions, that's true. But when you're dealing with a global pandemic and you don't even know how to relate to family that you can't get too close to, or friends or whatever, it's hard. But the love affair aspect of practice is that, well, what else is there to do? Because otherwise, sooner or later, we're going to wind up dying. And then maybe on our deathbed realize we got the whole thing wrong. We kind of thought that it was all about like getting somewhere where people would think we're smart or okay or whatever the stories are about successful, wealthy, I mean, endless, loved. And that was some kind of idealization that actually eclipsed how beautiful you've always been. That maybe other people recognize more easily than you do. So this is not some like a narcissistic engagement where now I'm going to see how really beautiful I am. No, that's the kind of imprisonment of the personal pronouns. But when we allow ourselves to drop into awareness, there are no personal pronouns. There's only thinking, and we can see that that's like just weather patterns in the mind, and they don't have to be taken personally. Then you're already free, and that can happen like, as I was suggesting, half an in-breath. And then it helps if you take in the other half of the in-breath too, and then let the out-breath come out, and see if you can string more than 1 or 2 moments of embodied wakefulness or mindfulness together, and then begin to do that is kind of like more important than brushing your teeth. It's kind of like personal hygiene, so to speak. I'm brushing my mind. The way I don't know what the right verb is because I'm not a horse person, but is it curry a horse? Or, like you have the brush and you sort of go with the grain of the fur or whatever it is. Like you in some sense, nurture your own capacity for being as opposed to being defined by what you do or how you act. And then when the doing comes out of being, it's a whole different doing because it's more authentic. It's more true to who you really are. That was a long-winded way of answering your question, but it's that question. We could spend the whole time on it because it's like the tension between no time and all the time in the world. And that's the beauty of the present moment, is that in some very real way, and we all know this, it's timeless. We often say, time stood still, time stopped. Maybe just apprehending a sunset or, connecting with somebody you love.